the Mexican legend, born in Cuernavaca, had the name Ricardo Finito Lopez. Ricardo retired undefeated in 2001 after 52 professional fights, 26 of which were world title fights. In his amateur record of 40 fights, he also never tasted defeat, being a 4-time Golden Gloves champion among many other accolades. Finito has cemented his place as one of the greatest icons of the Mexican boxing school. But for Ricardo, his greatest achievement is having retained his lucidity and his brain intact after a long life in boxing.
Yo el mejor diploma que tengo es una resonancia magnética donde salí bien, dije, Dios mío, no tengo para vivir, con lo que escurre del vaso del agua yo vivo y lo principal es que tengo bien mis facultades mentales.
To discover how he dominated his opponents so remarkably, we conducted an in-depth study of his boxing style, his polished punching mechanics, his elegant footwork, and much more. So let us begin with the analysis. Ricardo's boxing philosophy. Ricardo was an outboxer who liked to break his opponents with intelligence. He was aware that boxing involves an element of luck, and he was very humble in that regard. But he also knew that those risks could be managed and that with intelligent strategies and disciplined techniques, he could greatly increase his chances of success.
Y aprender que el boxeo es un deporte donde gana la inteligencia en la mayoría de veces. Sí. En cualquier momento un golpe bien conectado se cae el más grande, el más fuerte y el mejor, me queda muy claro. Pero cuando tiene más probabilidad de ganar el peleador es cuando tienes una defensa y un ataque que lo coordinas.
Some say that Ricardo's most remarkable feature was his almost invisible jab, but we disagree. We realised that what was truly incredible about Finito was that nothing stood out, in a good way, since he had great characteristics and, above all, no notable weaknesses. Arturo Cuyo Hernandez and later Nacho Beristain polished Ricardo's style like a jewel, without blemishes. Don't get it twisted, it's true that he had a great jab, but he also delivered one of the best lead uppercuts, moved around with fundamentally flawless footwork, and remained disciplined in his high guard. His boxing was purposeful, measured to the atom. Behind every move there was a reason. For instance, this might seem absurd. In reality, Finito is measuring the distance, feinting while changing his position, testing his opponent's reactions and masking his future attacks. As you can see, he was skilled, intelligent and versatile. You have already got to know Ricardo Lopez. So let's take a look at 4 key aspects of his boxing style. Number 1. Fundamentally flawless footwork. His elegant way of moving is the reason why they call him Finito. In Spanish, Finito is the diminutive form of the word Fino. The word Fino is not only used to describe a slim physique, slender, it is also used to describe elegance, quality, and sophistication. Fine, when they called Ricardo Lopez Fino, they did so with this double meaning. We also use this double meaning when naming our V1 Slender joggers, inspired by Ricardo Lopez's style. His footwork was highly effective, characterized not by amazing flourishes, but by solid, perfected fundamentals. His pivots, for example, allowed him to gain advantageous angles on offense. They also allowed him to get out of danger on defense, masterfully executed after a slip. He described himself as a fencer.
Yo era un peleador de guardia antigua, era un peleador esgrimista, me movía con piernas.
Because he was constantly jumping on the tips of his toes, moving in and out while keeping his front hand raised. His lateral movement was also impeccable. It was very difficult to catch him, and with it he was able to control the pace of the fight. He moved around his opponent, not around the ring. This is an important detail. His lateral movement was not only defensive, but also kept him at a distance for his counterattacks. It was also very difficult to cut him off in the ring. He always followed the fundamental rule, which we explain in this other video, of circling out after taking 2 steps back. If his opponent really managed to close in on him, Ricardo would use feints, stepping to one side and then bursting away in the other direction. Ricardo also used other more advanced techniques such as switching guard or crossing his legs. But it was his mastery of the basics that made him so great. Something very curious about his feet is that he did not have a defined stance. When he moved elusively, he remained tall with his legs closer together. But when he attacked, he liked to widen his base considerably to have greater stability and strike with greater power. We will talk more about this when we analyse his striking mechanics. As the skilled technical boxer he was, his feet were the foundation of everything, and he trained it diligently.
Me tuvieron caminando 2 meses. 2 meses para coordinar y cómo avanzar, cómo tener los pies.
Number 2. Disciplined high guard. Ricardo's discipline was particularly evident in his high guard. He kept his hands up at all times, even when dodging or moving around the ring. Although he had an incredible ability to evade punches with head movement, he did not rely solely on that, because when slipping or rolling punches, he always made sure to keep his guard up. You could say that his defense was one of the most complete because he accomplished 4 important aspects. First, he kept the perfect distance to react to attacks. Then, when the attack actually happened, he moved his head. And later, he used footwork to get out of the danger zone. All this while maintaining his guard up. In offense, he often feinted and still kept his guard up. He would make a slight movement with his whole body, perfectly imitating the start of an attack. This feint, although subtle, was very effective and very safe as it preserved his defensive posture. Number 3. A complete arsenal. Ricardo's offense was overwhelming, unpredictable, and precise. To begin with, Ricardo was lethal with a wide variety of punches. His famous ghost jab, invisible, instantaneous, and clinical. His devastating uppercuts.
Well, they love boxing, we know that. And he has a reputation of singing also.
His perfectly timed hooks. And his dangerous overhands to the temple. He took advantage of this variety with his long and complex combinations. He mixed up high and low punches, curved and straight punches, inside and outside punches. One punch after another, he continued to maintain sniper-like precision. The cherry on top was that his constant feints and his setups greatly enhanced these lethal attacks. He was an outboxer because he used to keep his distance and hunt down his opponents while moving around him, but he also showed great skill at short distances, taking advantage of his intelligence and experience. Ricardo was good at counter-attacking and also initiating attacks. He often started and finished exchanges, showcasing absolute superiority over his opponent. He was a constant threat to his opponents. In fact, his intelligence often makes us underestimate his power. He knocked out more than 70% of his opponents. He generated power through his polished punching mechanics. His hitting mechanics are almost textbook perfect. If you want to learn how to refine your mechanics, Ricardo can be a good reference, so take note. To begin with, let's talk about its ability to transfer power through its kinetic chain. He managed to generate incredible torque that started from his feet, accentuated at his hips, and was followed by a strong shoulder rotation. In this manner, he managed to transfer his weight neatly from one foot to the other. When he threw an uppercut, he not only rotated his shoulders horizontally, but also moved them up and down slightly to accompany the punch. This created a slight curve in the swing, as though he were drawing the number 8 with his body. When throwing uppercuts or hooks at a 45-degree angle, he liked to push his chest forward. This slight detail engaged more muscles in the punch and allowed for greater tension. As we mentioned, this really starts with his feet. All this impressive rotation was possible thanks to a stable base. Ricardo would widen his stance and load his weight before attacking. This could have been a disadvantage, as it alerted his opponent to when he was going to attack, but this wasn't the case. Because Ricardo also widened his base and leaned on his front foot when feinting, or even when moving his head proactively. Ricardo often took advantage of this wide, heavy stance to explode with his punches, lunging at his opponent and hitting him from an unexpected distance. As you can see, Ricardo was one of the most intelligent and technical boxers in the sport. Today, we can see some reflections of his style in other elite boxers. We hope this analysis has conveyed at least some of the elegance this man displayed in the ring. Do you like the analysis? What did you learn? Check out these videos where we explain some of the concepts mentioned. Subscribe to this channel if you want to continue studying this wonderful sport.